Can you see? Are we live? Looks like we might be live. Laptops can't log in for some reason, so I'm slaving off my mobile device. I don't know if I'm broadcasting because it's very far behind. There it is. Okay, good. Okay, a little slow behind. Welcome back, everybody. Alts is here. Alana Roots, Jerry, Sickmaster, Philip Holtz, Wesley Adi, The Real Great Collie, AJ Quinn, Nats Crazy, Xander Van Rensburg, Elmarie Mayer, and Legion. Welcome to all of you. Pleasure to have you join me again. So, it's on a city street here, and there's no parking, so you have to pay for parking. You have to pay £2 to park for a couple hours, and then come to Starbucks. Andy's smoked ham and cheddar. It was a pretty good sandwich. But it had mayonnaise. I thought I wouldn't like it. It was actually pretty good, so yeah, it was tasty. Got myself a frappuccino there. And I think you all are like 45 seconds behind. That's one of the things I've realized here with the mobile. It's not real time like it is at home, so a little bit of a delay there. Welcome as the chat starts to come in from Hein Schnettler and light rain in from the west coast of the United States. And what else we got there? Erica Fundenberg, Sylvia Ostoy and Arctic is in. How's it going, Arctic? Conrad, Amanda DeBeer, Udoya Prinsloo, Orwell Finter, Rodney, Magda, Andre, Biddy, Steve Roberts, Culinary Pirates, Dora Fundamental. Wow, it's really picking up next. Pat Hamid, Joubert, Nix, Alts, Anita, Fitnut, Dougie Ray, Liz Hernabah. I'm going to miss some folks. Can't get all you guys. Anyway, so folks, now that they've arrived safely in the United States, I can confirm that that is the case. Another group of South African refugees has arrived in the United States. Congratulations to them. This comes on the heels of the press conference from the Director of International Relations Cooperation yesterday, Ronnie Lamola, telling us that the United States is apartheid 2.0. This coming from a country that has 145 laws that racially discriminate against its citizens. This coming from a country that intentionally dismantled the only effective rural security apparatus that existed to protect farm workers, farm managers, and farmers. And we've seen a chaotic bloodletting taking place. This coming from a government that continues to run around and blame Donald Trump for the use of the term white genocide, when the only one using the term is the South African government and the media. So apartheid 2.0, I beg to differ. The apartheid 2.0 is the ANC's behavior, not the U.S. government. So, Neb says, hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay. Enjoyed that sandwich, man. I'm ready to go get another one. I should have got another one before we got started here. It was really tasty. I did enjoy that. I would go get another one if you guys would let me, but maybe I'll go a little bit. So, awesome news, says Expat Family. Yep. So, yeah, no, it's good news. We've got some other news to talk about beyond just the refugees. So, a little chaos in the Joburg Council today. Another example of how these disconnected elites in Africa just steal and pilfer from everybody, and they're completely disconnected from reality. While millions of Zimbabweans are forced to live abroad in the UK, in Canada, in Australia, in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, struggling, scratching for a living, surviving the political oppression, the economic oppression that Zimbabwe's ZANU-PF has imposed upon Zimbabweans for decades. We see that the crocodile's daughter-in-law is living the life of La Dolce Vita in Switzerland, or is it in Italy? Yeah, she's in Italy, Lake Como. So Zimbabwean President Mnangagwa's daughter-in-law, Carol Inare, spent her 40th birthday in Como with more than a dozen of her friends. No expense was spared in the lavish trip, which saw the group fly first class, visit exclusive spots, and shop at designer stores. Meanwhile, the Zimbabwean economy is on its knees. While ordinary Zimbabweans struggle to make ends meet, President Mnangagwa's daughter-in-law spent her 40th birthday living it up. The lavish trip was documented in a series of videos and photographs posted on her Instagram, where Nare, who is married to Mnangagwa's son, Emerson Mnangagwa Jr., and has her own luxury shoe, nail polish, and champagne lines, goes by the handle Queen of a Swagger Official. The post featured shots of her swanning around the first-class cabin of an Emirates flight, sipping a bubbly in full Louis Vuitton, and her Mahina pajamas to her Olympia sneakers alongside her friends. News 24 priced her flights at more than 150,000 Rand, and her outfit, she captioned travel fit, at 114,000 Rand. Her matching Louis Vuitton trunk, also featured in the post, was priced at 165,000 Rand. After landing, more posts showed Nari and the group and their portfolio invasion followed. They strolled the cobblestone streets, dining on oysters at the Dior Bagni Fiore, and on decadent seafood, pasta, and desserts at Vesta Portofino. They visited the Louis Vuitton store, where she gifted each member of her posse with a perfume, which she revealed in a post caption, "Woke up feeling like Oprah." She also popped in a Christian Dior to add a few key pieces to the wardrobe, with a post showing her looking at the iconic mini lady Dior bag priced at 86,000 Rand in different shades of green. The post also showed her modeling one pair of chic sunglasses, which appears are only available in the store. Extensive online searches turned up no results for those glasses. Good Lord, these people are very loud with the dishes. More posts showed her in a floor-length beaded gown at the famed Gates of Heaven, the Hotel Villa Cipressi, where a junior suite cost 23,000 Rand per night. The main event, however, was an intimate dinner set in expansive manicured gardens. In one video, she posted a cloud of pink smoke in yet another gown. This time, anyway, this is sick. According to the country's largest workers' union, Zimbabwe Congress of Trade, unemployment is now 90% in Zimbabwe, and she's living up the life of luxury. No empathy whatsoever for Zimbabweans. Shari Guarima, a mother of three, recently lost her job at a Food World shop attendant after the popular supermarket chain closed its doors. She said, "I had no option but to venture into vegetable vending to feed my paid school fees. The closure of the company I was working for came as a shock and complete desperation. Now the problem I face as a street vendor is constant running battles with the police because I don't have a vending license. I can't afford it with the little money I get." Yes, but of course we all know that the problem, of course, is white monopoly capital and those privileged Afrikaners who are responsible for Zimbabwe's misery, while Emerson Mnangagwa's daughter-in-law lives up the life of luxury. See, this is where you put the likes of Ronnie Lamola to shame, where they lie about things. In South Africa, the ANC has had 3 decades to fix the country, to raise people out of poverty, to spread public services to everyone equally. Instead, all they've done is ruin public services for everyone equally, while they electrify people who pay nothing for the electricity, and then the company that supplies it, a state-owned enterprise, goes deeper and deeper into debt because of mismanagement, corruption, theft, and incompetence, because they fired all the competent, qualified people because they lack sufficient skin pigmentation in the racist land of South Africa. Why is my chat not coming up again? So I don't have chat again. It's the second time that's happened on this trip that I have no chat on my phone. So I have to rely on my laptop to see what you guys are saying. Anyway, so, and my reading glasses, of course. How many flights are there going to America every day? Well, Adrian, there are flights that go to America, 2 flights every day, one from Delta, one from United Airlines. Why do you ask? SWIFT headquarters are in Belgium. However, the Flemish nationalists won the elections. They're a conservative party. What do you guys? What's this? I'm going to put this to rest here. All this clickbait that these sudden new influencers, new YouTube content creators, which are just a bunch of propagandists, falling for. This is not true. The U.S. has not sanctioned. The U.S. is not putting South Africa on the SWIFT, moving from SWIFT system. You got to stop believing all the bullshit you hear from people that. Folks, you got to ask yourself this question. The people that tell you these things, what are their bona fides? I mean, where are they getting this information from? Where are they getting information from saying that South Africa's being kicked off the SWIFT system? There's no evidence to support that whatsoever. It's just a bunch of clickbait on YouTube, and you're all falling for it. You're falling for it. Quit falling for it. It's just clickbait, utter nonsense. And I'm sorry to say that people that are, supposedly good content creators are putting this crap out there. Well, there you go. Where is William Petzer getting his news from? Does he work for the SWIFT banking network? Does he work for a bank? Does he have contact with finance ministers in Washington, D.C. or in Brussels? I didn't know that's where it came from. Yeah. He also said that the only refugees that would go would be poor, toothless oaks who couldn't get jobs in South Africa, and that's why they would. Remember that? Refugees I know, several making 6-figure incomes now. Yeah. Yes, I remember the Bukurundi and Matabeleland, 20 to 50,000 people executed. Yeah, I'm not here to badmouth other content creators, but I'm telling you folks, unless someone can provide some evidence, I've seen no evidence, it's speculation. Look, we can all speculate. I've already told you a year ago what would happen if South Africa's kicked off the SWIFT banking system. It would be disastrous. But there is no evidence, and people keep putting clickbait videos up about this stuff. It's really becoming quite annoying. Oh, there you go. See, Will, now that's correct. Okay, that's why I said I can't comment on him. He said that the government might be scared. Well, I would agree with him, but they've been scared all along. But the more likely outcome, based on the information available, is if Ronnie Jackson's bill gets passed and the president signs it, well, then there very well could be some South African senior political leaders who find themselves kicked off of access to the SWIFT system. Their bank accounts frozen, their credit cards no longer valid. That's the most likely outcome. Yeah, I didn't think so. Right. So somebody's saying that something that William Petzer didn't say. So I thought. Yeah, that's highly unlikely, Ian. Highly unlikely. The problem with removing South Africa from the SWIFT system is then how do we get the platinum from South Africa then? If Greater Matasha is correct and America needs the platinum from South Africa, we need your minerals, how do we get them if we take you off the SWIFT system? We can't execute payments. See, you gotta work the logic here, folks. Is America going to cut its nose off to spite its face? It doesn't make sense. I'm not saying it won't happen, but it's highly unlikely, and it's very speculative at this point. There's no legislation going forward. There are no sanctions in place. These tools have all been available to the United States for some time to sanction individuals under the Magnitsky Act, and nobody's been sanctioned. So I'd hold the horses, I'd calm down, I'd chill out, and I'd not freak out about these claims or the supposition that they're nervous. Of course they're nervous, but then they're not very bright, the government officials in South Africa, so, you know, they can believe what they want to believe. If that makes them change their behavior, then let them believe it. Francois Collins says, I don't know why these guys are trying to scare everyone. Stick to yourselves and let others have a piece of sunshine. I hope the truth about MTN. Yeah, well, the MTN story is very fascinating, and obviously that story, which had rumors, which I couldn't confirm early on, seems to have teeth to it. And as more information becomes available through the trial, then I will cover more of it. But in the meantime, right now, that's also a lot of rank speculation. Whitley Bay, near Newcastle. Brian Morrison, I was up that way, man. Just up that way at Sunderland for the opener of Women's World Cup. I've been to Newcastle before. I went there for the 2015 Rugby World Cup. I think it was a Scotland game that I was at Newcastle. And then I was in Leicester. I preferred Newcastle to staying in Leicester. Yeah, so I remember in Newcastle I had to park at some big shopping center on the south side on the ring and then take the bus in downtown, which is just as well because it was chaos down there. But Newcastle put on a pretty good game, as I recall. Yeah, so I don't know that place, Whitley Bay, but I do know Newcastle and Sunderland. Sunderland put on a good show for the Women's World Cup opening. It was pretty good. Banks preparing for the worst case scenario. Okay, my AU bank account blocked today. Updated online details. Now I have to call Sydney tomorrow. That's crazy, Leslie. Sorry to hear that. By the way, for content creators, why is that charge already gone already? Wow, that was fast. It just went into power save mode at 72%, which is weird. Let me turn down the screen a little bit here so it doesn't get carried away. Yeah, so for content creators, I saw the news today in South Africa that they're going SARS is going to come after you. So my first recommendation to SARS is that you direct your attention to Mama Joy. Mama Joy, the freeloader who got free rides from the taxpayer to go to Rugby World Cups, sponsored, paid for by the taxpayer, and who authorized that garbage? That is a in-kind payment. She got all kinds of in-kind payments, thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of rand. So will SARS go after Mama Joy? Let's ask Ronaldo. He might be in on top of that. Biggest priority is to do the interviews, get the states, once I'm safe, I'll worry about the rest. Okay, not a happy camper. Oh, now a happy camper. Okay. Colonel Chris, why did Professor G delete majority of his videos? I have no idea, Wade. I haven't talked to Professor G since before I came to the UK, 11 days ago, I think it was. Yeah, so I haven't talked to him in some time. I've got other issues that I'm dealing with, other people in poor health I'm trying to stay in touch with, make sure they're okay. It's on the coast, nice beaches, cold water, not as good as PE. You met your wife there many years ago in PE. Okay. But Brian Morrison sounds very English. I'm guessing you're English, you married a Sappho. They won't, as she would be the correct color, says Dylan. Mama Joy, nope, right skin pigmentation. Well, that's where they should start. They're going to go after content creators and influencers who are getting in-kind payments. Well, that's an in-kind payment. Care about sanctions, it's about survival, and all this other crap doesn't help families survive. It's a fight amongst the big boys. I have his contact, but I haven't touched base with him. Yeah, okay, Eli. Okay, let's hear it. Tell me the rumors, okay? Because I've been getting messages and answering people. I wasted 2 or 3 hours earlier today trying to calm people down about the Kenya thing. So let's hear what the rumors are you hear, because there's a lot of bullshit being put out there, okay? A lot of people that don't know what they're talking about, trying to spread hysteria. Utter nonsense. So I'm not saying you're doing it, Eli. I'm saying tell me the rumors you've heard. Hey, Carlos. Carlos, by the way, thanks for your help last night, late at night. I don't know the outcome of that. I haven't heard from them, but I am concerned. In fact, I've got WhatsApp up on here, so let me do that real quick. Let me see. Remember, Professor G had some health issues too, so I just sent him a message. Okay, and I'm looking to see if so what. All right, I'm writing to the people that. So there's some really underhanded stuff taking place in South Africa now. Let me give you an example of this. I know a family, and by all accounts, what I know of them, interacted with them, they've come to my meet and greets, I've been to their place. By all accounts, it's a good family. They've got a couple daughters. The husband's business has been attacked by caterers who want to get contracts and try to put him out of business. And some underhanded things have been happening. Yesterday, police rocked up at their home with a social worker and stole their children from them in South Africa, the Western Cape. No warrant, no explanation. They grabbed the two girls who were hysterical. They'd never been away from their mother, and dragged them off to some care facility. Apparently, no warrant, no explanation. Told them that they had to appear in court at either 9 o'clock or 2 o'clock today. They don't have representation, so I scrambled last night contacting some attorneys around South Africa to see if anybody knew anyone in that part of the Western Cape that might be able to help them. Yeah, to me it seems like it's a targeted attack. People are going after South Africans in very nasty ways. I can't imagine that family's done anything to those children. I've met the children. They seem well fed, well taken care of, and loved by their parents. And so, so this is what's going on now. Now you've potentially got people trying to take people's kids. And look, it happens everywhere. I saw it happen here. My predecessor. One of my predecessors was commander of the Veterans Organization. Some people didn't like him, so they were reporting him to the police. He was divorced from his ex, and they were trying to report him and lie about him, about abusing his kids, which he didn't do, claiming he was abusing them when it was the mother who was actually neglecting them, and try to prevent him having access to his kids and having custody of them. He resigned as commander so they didn't have to deal with it. But this is pretty frightening stuff that people would do that to children. I've met those girls. I can imagine they're terrified. I hope they're back with their parents today. I don't know. So I really don't know. But it's absolutely hard. But listen, I've been in that situation as a young kid. I came home from school in Buffalo, New York in the 1970s. Snow all over outside, a January morning, and there was a knock on the door. My sister was a couple years younger than me. She was in school, as was I. I went to the door, I answered it, and there stood a local police officer, an agent from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and a social worker. And they said, we're going to need you to come with us. We're going to take you to the hospital where you'll be examined, and you'll meet your little brother who'd been in daycare. And I said, can I see some identification? And they showed me the identification. I looked at it. They were legitimate. We had just had Christmas and had a few gifts, and I'll never forget because I got that Evel Knievel rubber doll where he's got the wind-up motorcycle and you crank it up and he does all the jumps and everything. And he grabbed a couple things and left and never came back to that place, never got a Christmas presents. The social worker, after they were finished with us at the hospital, drove us upstate New York to a Presbyterian pastor and his wife, and we lived there for the summer. They were wonderful people. I don't know who they were. I'm sure they've passed by now because I was at that time, 7 years old or 8 years old, and they must have been in their 30s by the 1970s, so they're probably 80 or 90 if they're still alive today. But they were wonderful people. And then later, the social worker came back at the end of the summer and took us to the airport. We got on a plane. It was my first flight ever as a warder of the state, traveling with FBI and with a social worker from Buffalo, New York to National Airport in D.C. She drove us out to one of those foster homes that you hear about that are horrible, where they only do it for the money. We went out there, and we basically had beans every day. Bean soup is all we ever ate, and it was just horrible. They were terrible people. They just did it for the money. Whereas complete opposite the first time. I can just imagine what it's like for those girls being so close. I wasn't particularly close to my parents. My parents had already split at that time, and I didn't have any particularly strong connection. So I can only imagine for these girls what it was like. Well, you say that, Ali said, but you could wind up in prison. That's the way. That's the intent. They want you to lose your mind and say something or do something so they can put you in prison. Went to the shop to get bread, and this Bravo male walks in and said that one of these days the whites will be gone. Justice for Afrikaner and all minority groups says Apache Nation. What's going on? What happened to the Kenyan people? Okay. What's okay? I was asking. Let me go back. They didn't give a reason, Cronje. That's why I contacted attorneys, because it's bullshit. You can't just take people's children. It doesn't work like that. This is a problem with an oppressive state. Okay, so where are the things about the Kenyans now? It was Eli who said he's hearing bad things about the Kenyans. So it says, South Africa's the worst government in the world. They only government rich themselves. Yeah, well, so is Zimbabwe. No facts, just wanted to know if you heard anything. Okay, well, I've heard all kinds of rumors about the Kenyans and all kinds of nonsense going on. People making false claims and this, that, and the other. So let me just tell people what I do know. Okay. All right. So we saw the press conference. I did. I made a video. You can go watch it. I wish more people would watch it. I think it's a pretty good video of analysis. I put place markers in the video to every time that Ronald Lamola said something was a fabrication or an outright lie or misrepresentation. I put a marker in there and I stated the obvious. You know, he claimed that that Home Affairs is not going to give the visas to the Kenyans because South Africa is under no obligation to help the United States. And he's correct. South Africa is under no obligation to help the United States. But you would think that a country facing 30% tariffs because of their misconduct and a fractured diplomatic relationship, you would at least have the courtesy to go, you know, a step or two in the direction to help the U.S. But no, they intend to piss the U.S. off again. Then, you know, as if that's not enough, dingbat doorknob Ronnie Lamola continues his story. It's telling fairy tales, and in the process of telling fairy tales, he called the United States apartheid 2.0. Yeah, that is not going to go very well with anyone. It certainly doesn't go well with me, apartheid 2.0. This coming from the hypocrites who have 145 laws specifically targeting racial minorities, who are allowing people to steal land and occupy it illegally and not protecting property rights of the owners, who are allowing rural insecurity intentionally to frighten people off of farms, who are spreading rumors and lies about white genocide and blaming it on the conservatives, claiming they're the ones saying it, to undermine the argument about rural insecurity. I really don't think I'm going to take lessons from an arrogant government that has racist, apartheid-like laws, like the African National Congress, telling me that my country, which dismantled racial segregation in the 1950s and 1960s before I was even born, the civil rights legislation passed in 1964 on the eve of my birth. You're not going to preach to me about, you know, apartheid 2.0. That is the action of the ANC. So he said they're not going to do the visas. But as I told several people today, ladies and gentlemen, please listen very clearly here. There are 622 of you here right now. Please listen to what I'm saying. The only reason I can surmise for bringing the Kenyans to South Africa is for direct oversight and quicker coordination. If the Kenyans are working in Pretoria, then the people overseeing the program can go and grab files from them, can go and answer their questions directly, can see them, can interact with them. Oh, now the music's on. Now suddenly we got music. I'm gonna get a copyright strike. That's great. Oh my goodness, I can't go outside because it's too loud. Can you guys hear the music? I don't know if you can hear the music. So, wow. Hang on. Let's see. Unbelievable. 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 All right, I can't hear the music. Can you guys? Okay, good. You guys can't hear the music. That's good. All right, thank goodness, because I don't want to get a copyright strike. Okay, cool. All right, thanks, guys. That's the last thing I need is a copyright strike for bullshit like that. Anyway, so the only reason I can surmise that we need to bring them there is for direct oversight and control. They can be on the surface of the moon, provided they have communication links back to the U.S. government. Because all the Kenyans are doing is they're screening people. They call you up, they confirm that your number is valid, your information is correct, that you're a real person. Because remember, a lot of people try to target the system and submit fake names, fake accounts. So they're confirming all of that. They're also looking to find out when you'll be available to do an interview, in-person interview. And they're trying to get a basis for why you're seeking refugee status. Is it past persecution or fear of future persecution? That's all they do. Then once you've got an interview set up with Americans, you come in for the interview. After that goes successful, if you're approved as a refugee, then the Kenyans will book your flights and get you to the States. That's all they do. They don't have to be in South Africa for that. So people should not lose one moment of sleep about them not being in South Africa. I'm not sure why they want them there in the first place. I think it was a foolish idea to do it because, or maybe they were just testing the goodwill of the South African government, which has no goodwill. So stop panicking, stop worrying about it. I can tell you the U.S. government has sent its own personnel over to Pretoria to help with this program. The biggest problem you have with this program is there's simply the opaque nature of the U.S. government. That's the biggest one. The second biggest problem is that there's simply too few people working on the program. And therefore, the hundreds of thousands of requests are backlogged, and there's a logjam. So all I can tell you folks is that people are going across. I can confirm 100% today that South Africans departed South Africa on the 27th of August and arrived in the United States today. In fact, I know of someone that went to Texas, so I'll tell you that much, okay? So there you have it. But I would not lose any sleep about the Kenyans. You know, everything we've been hearing about the Kenyans is mostly bullshit, unless you've heard it from me. We've heard fake media. Somebody put a thing on. They were rude to me because I was white. They laughed at my plight. I call bullshit, because I've had over 200 people send me responses from RSC contacting them, and every single one of them, because they've heard me talk about that, he said that no, they're very friendly, they're very polite, they're very empathetic. And most of those people, I'd say 60 to 65% of those people have now gotten a follow-up and has either scheduled an interview or done an interview or done their medical checks. So I would just say that, folks, you're victims of too much interest in the program and not enough resources supplied to it. So I would not freak out, okay? Does that help? I hope that helps. I hope that helps. Wade Wood, for the 1 millionth time, there is no time frame. This is all messed up because the way it unfolded, the PRM emails, the backlog of those, there's 100,000+ people who asked about that, then the statement of interest coming out, and then hiring RSC, and then this idea that the Amerikaners are volunteering. There is no timeline. There's no timeline. The only timeline you need to worry about is what they tell you when they call you and schedule things. Because I can't tell you. I mean, I've talked to people who sent in a statement of interest, and within a week they heard, and they were scheduled, and they're out of the country already. I've talked to people sending 2 months ago, they didn't hear anything. I've talked to people sending 2 months ago, and they recently got appointments. So there is no timeline. Quit trying to timeline this thing. The only timeline you're going to get is when you have appointments scheduled with the U.S. Embassy, with the Americans. Until then, you're just pissing in the wind. And you know what happens when you piss in the wind? You just piss all over yourself. So stop pissing all over yourself. Does that make sense? Well, the first one was not an interview, it was a screening. So you're getting the terminology wrong. It wasn't an interview, it's a screening. Yeah, the timeline's from 2 hours to forever. There you go. All right. How many people are in the groups? I'm not going to answer that question, Fit9 Innovations. That's sources and methods, and I cannot reveal that information. Of course, you can assume that maybe I just don't know. That's your prerogative. If you want to know Kenya Pro is working, let me know. Ian's asked if I want to know if it's working. Well, it is working. So, how am I doing, Reno? Reno, I'm doing okay. 654 people currently here. Some of you just missed what I talked about for the RefG program, so I'm sorry that you missed that. Makes sense to me. Never even thought to be panicking about it. While back you said it's all good, so then I'm happy. Yeah, Ingrid. You know, it's as good as it can be. It's as smooth as it can be, and it's moving along. So I mean, that's all I can tell you, and I can assure you, it is a bit frustrating for everyone who has a statement of interest. It's also very frustrating for me because it's like pulling teeth, getting information, and my government has been very opaque. I understand the need for security, but I've never compromised the security. In fact, I protected the government's security without their knowledge. Yeah, Nicolette Steenkamp says there is no timeline. Yeah, I don't know why. So, you know, I find it funny, guys. I'm not criticizing, but I find it really funny that South Africans who wait 30,000 years to get a driver's license renewed, who have to pay bribes to get out of fake parking speeding tickets, who go to Home Affairs and can't get anything done, who can't get internet, who can't get electricity, actually have the concept of a timeline for this program. Why, you know, you don't have timelines in South Africa. Shit just doesn't get done in South Africa. So I find it fascinating that people are worried about a timeline when you have no such experience in South Africa. Sorry, let me laugh at people. It's hilarious to me. It's not an interview, Von Heerden. It is a screening, the first one. You're welcome, Raven. Where do you think this submission is coming from? I think it's coming from a couple sources. Number one, it's coming from right-wing Afrikaners who are assholes and bumhurt and just trying to be jerk-offs. Some of them are out there. It's also coming from the political left and the media and the government. There's a disinformation and a misinformation campaign underway to rubbish and tarnish the RefG program. Every time that Ronnie Lamola comes out and lies about the program and says nonsense. So let me just give you a few of the lies he came up with last night. So this will be disinformation. I don't usually like bleach blonde hair, but that looked very lovely. She had nice hair. Okay, let's see. Let me find this really quickly here. The stuff I did last night. Okay, so his first error was he said that the program was for Afrikaners. It's an Afrikaner program. It's not a program for Afrikaners. It's a program open to racial minorities in South Africa. First lie. Okay, the next one. Oops, that's the wrong direction. He said that there is no genocide. Well, genocide is not the basis for the program, as I've told all of my viewers. It doesn't matter. It can be the basis, but it's not the basis for this program. Past experience of racial persecution or fear of future persecution is the basis for granting South Africans refugee status, not genocide. So he can sit there and rail all day about that fake narrative that he and his leftists are trying to push in their disinformation campaign, because that's what it is. Government sponsor means disinformation. And then he said that South Africa has no obligation to help the United States. And I said he's correct. And he said it's the right of any country to let the people it wants into its country. And he's also correct about that. However, refugee status is governed by the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1980. It is not immigration. We're not immigrating South Africans. We're giving them protection. It is succor. It is refuge. It is protection. It is not immigration. You are not immigrants, but you are granted certain privileges and rights as a consequence of the program. But Ronnie Lamola knows better, and he's just lying to the world. Then he said that they don't recognize the South Africans as refugees because they don't fall under the UN definition of refugees. The problem with that lie is that the basis for United Nations refugee status is primarily defined by the 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees, which states that a refugee is someone with a well-founded fear of persecution due to, and what's the first thing that comes up? It's not religion, it's not membership in a group, it's race. Well-founded fear of persecution due to race, the first qualification. And so Ronnie Lamola is lying to the world with a disinformation campaign. Then he says, it simply doesn't meet the UN definition. Well, we cannot take the word of the Minister of Foreign Relations for South Africa, because one cannot accept the comment of the accused when it comes to declaring who is a legitimate refugee. Because obviously they have a vested interest in not letting their country be called a country where people are fleeing from. So you can't trust what they say. For instance, the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, when they murdered 1 million Cambodians, they didn't see their victims as refugees, but the world did. So we cannot take the word of the accused. And again, he said South Africa is under no obligation to help the U.S. And he's right. You have no obligation. You're a sovereign nation. You don't have to process these visas. It's your country. But as if the diplomatic relationship were not fragile enough, now he insults the sovereignty of the United States. Smooth move, Minister. What's your encore? So what I mean by that is that the things he said about America were very insulting, particularly calling us apartheid 2.0. And once again, he said that it was he called the Afrikaners privileged, and he said that the program is only for Afrikaners. Apparently the folks at the Director of International Relations and Cooperation cannot understand modern standard written English, or they simply refuse to be honest. It's on the website. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to refer people to za.usembassy.gov. It's there for anyone in the world to see, even in Turkmenistan, in Myanmar, in Antarctica. If you're a South African researcher being sexually assaulted by one of your colleagues and you can't escape, anywhere you find yourself in the world, you can go on the internet, if you have access, on the surface of the moon even, and look that up on the U.S. Embassy website, za.usembassy.gov, and you will find that Ronnie Lamola is simply lying and spreading disinformation. So then he says that Afrikaners are privileged people, and he called America 2.0, apartheid 2.0. So as I said, when all else fails, you stereotype racial groups, calling all Afrikaners privileged, which is bullshit. Then you race hustle, attack whites. Then you deny the reality that your country is in trouble, and then you simply blame Jan van Riebeck. It's apartheid's fault. Of course, he didn't do apartheid, but they don't make the distinction because they're not that bright. And that's really last night. By the way, I started calling him Ozzy because that's his middle name. He doesn't deserve to use his. I usually call him Ronnie, but now I call him Ozzy. Okay, so where are we at on the chat here? Do you think denying the visas will have an effect? No, and I've already said that, Jason. You must have turned up late. It should have no effect whatsoever, and I've explained why. Please go back and watch the broadcast from earlier. I've been contacted by the Kenyans a month ago. Since then, no communication. I'm very worried my application is not successful. Well, Maggie, no one's ever said their application is successful, so I don't know why you don't need to share here, but I'm wondering why you think it wasn't successful. So I'm going to have to communicate to the U.S. government something about that. Would you agree we're experiencing systemic genocide? No, I would agree that there's a cultural genocide that's underway against the Afrikaans language and Afrikaner culture. Absolutely, 100%, no denial of that. It's a fact. But a genocide, no. There is no systemic effort to eliminate Afrikaners. In order to do that, you would have to send death squads to the UK to kill 600,000 people. You'd have to send them to New Zealand to kill another 40,000. You'd have to send them to Australia to kill 400,000 Afrikaners. And then to the US and Canada, and then also executed in Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. Afrikaners are ubiquitous, they're all over the place. It is not a systemic effort to wipe out the Afrikaner people. There is a systemic effort to wipe out the Afrikaans language in South Africa. There's no doubt about that. For instance, there's no such place as Schwanning. There was no settlement when the Trek Boers founded Pretoria, naming it after Andries Pretorius. There was absolutely no settlement in the 19th century when Nelspruit was named. And now it's Mbombela. There's no such place. There was no settlement in Bloemfontein when the Trek Boers in the Orange Free State established the town of the Blooming Spring, Bloemfontein. So the bottom line here is that there is a clear effort to wipe out Afrikaner culture and Afrikaans language. There's no doubt about it. It can't be denied. They can deny it, but it's true. As far as a genocide, there's nothing in South Africa for the people as a culture and as a folk that reaches the level of a genocide. Just like there's no such thing happening in Gaza. That also doesn't meet the threshold for genocide. There's no effort to wipe out the Palestinians. First off, they don't exist. They're just Arabs who live in Israel. And there are millions of them, 2 million living in Israel proper, plus another 2 million living in Judea, which is colloquially known as the West Bank, plus another couple million living in Jordan. No one's trying to wipe those people out or take their rights away. So it simply does not qualify. It may be mass murder, it may be crimes against humanity, but it's certainly not genocide. That's simply a politically charged term, which the use of it by South Africa's government is shameful, because the term is typically, unfortunately, associated with the elimination of Jews. And a state that's predominantly a Jewish state, the South African government coming out and making such a horrendous allegation against them is just really sickening when it doesn't meet the legal threshold of what a genocide is. And that's the biggest problem going on here. If they want to take them to court for crimes against humanity, okay, they can do that. Now they have to prove it, but that they could do. But there's clearly no genocide here. But someone could argue that you are having crimes against humanity. So, I mean, does that answer your question? By the way, just a reminder for those who are new to the program, you're not allowed to use all caps in the chat. It's very attention-seeking. It's very disrespectful. There's one exception. My moderator, Hendo, uses all caps. No one else uses all caps, okay? So it's just a rule we've had for a long time. Anybody that's been on the internet more than 10 years ought to know better than that. This goes back to days of message boards and bulletin boards back in the day, and FTP, file transfer protocol, and IRC, internet relay chat. You don't use all caps. Okay. Friend has been selected to have her pet be part of the initial pet lift. Would they also mean to be part of a group? Yeah, they will. So Jozar, if they're part of the pet group, then they've got knowledge that this person has been approved to leave South Africa. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the group. That's my understanding. So yeah, they should be heading out. There's a lot of women jogging here. No dudes, but a lot of women jogging by here. Interesting. Anyway, no, the Afrikaner genocide rhetoric doesn't come from Professor Gregory Stanton in the U.S. No, he may be the one perpetrating it now, but he's not the one that came up with it. South Africa's media that, and they blamed it on right-wingers. The random leaders say you cannot go to Canada unless you get express permission from the U.S. government. As a refugee, we're giving you refuge and protection of our country. We can't protect you when you go abroad. So in order to go to Canada or the UK or Luxembourg, you're going to have to request permission. It will most likely be granted to those countries, but if you want to go back to South Africa, it's going to be denied unless it's an extreme circumstance, like a family member near death, or a death in the family, or some legal thing that you have to go back and sort through. But as a refugee, you must stay in the place you have a refuge. That's the whole point. So some people, not you, but some people seem to have in mind this is an immigration program. And I can understand why, because you don't know what this program is about. It's not about immigration. You're not an immigrant. You're not a resident. You're just allowed to stay because your life was in danger. We do that for millions of people around the world, 3.9 million people in the past 60 years, and 3.1 million since 1980. We give them succor, refuge, safety. And we can't provide you safety when you're not under the control or the protection of the United States. So no, you can't go to Canada unless you have permission. So you're going to have to get permission, but it shouldn't be a major issue. No, they can leave before the green card is issued, but they have to have permission. Yep. And once you have a green card, then I don't know the rule on that. I believe you're okay because you're technically probably no longer a refugee because you have permanent residence in the States. But I'm not certain of that. Don't hold your hat on that. We'll get somebody with heartburn named Hepburn to start lying about me again. Ian says, all I can say is everything is going as it's supposed to. Yes, Ian, that's what I keep trying to reinforce people. Hey, Erica, what's going on? You're right, Martin. That's why there's no wind. Well, there's a dude jogging by. As soon as I said that, there's a dude jogging by here. So you're right. The men are at the pub. Tonight, the men are at the pub. Maybe those jogging women are cops. I saw in the UK doing that. Yeah. No, trust me, they weren't attractive enough to be cops. Trying to get people to stare at them. It can work. I have a friend that went through the whole process, but he had lung damage from an accident, picked up the x-rays, and had to go to TB testing. Well, everyone has to do a tuberculosis test. You get chest x-rays to see if you've got it. If you've got active tuberculosis, you're not going anywhere. We're not going to let people with active tuberculosis into America. You can have tuberculosis if it's latent. You've been exposed to it. It's not ideal, but we're not going to stop you from coming to America. Ironic they hate us, but they don't want to. It is ironic, isn't it, Eli Berserker? They're not Bormeister, so the colonel's not interested. Artie says, spoke to the lawyers. Those travel exemptions take 6 months. Yeah, see, there you go. Well, I don't doubt that. But if you plan ahead, if you got a holiday coming up, yep. I'm not surprised. Ben Kingsley, the Murder Club, Thursday Murder Club. It's a bus going by with an advert on. Haven't seen mention the refugee program in American media since their president's visits. Have you noticed? No, I'm in England now. They're not talking about it here. And the American media aren't talking about it because it's not interesting. Although I can tell you that I'm still facilitating interviews with journalists. In fact, I'm doing one at midnight tonight. I'm doing a Zoom session with a refugee in America and a journalist in America. So, yeah. The word bride will be trending. Not really. The shirt. Why have you got a World of Beach t-shirt with a picture of buffalo in it? Why not? Why wouldn't I? El command senateur. Every man's nature. Why wouldn't I wear that, Bobby? Had a video interview last week. Thursday I was told that someone will email me and buy mattress. There you go. Pressed about Walmart store. What Walmart store? What are you talking about? All that info is in the 1980 Refugee Act is downloadable. Yes, Alan, I've said it from the very beginning. That's why people who call me out and lie about me and criticize me are just stupid, because I've read the Refugee Act. I've also dealt with asylum cases, and I've also been dealing with refugees. So dealt with refugees in Africa on that end. So these people that, lie about me just to get clicks, it's pathetic. Okay, I got to tell you something, guys. If you're a man and you have no bum, you should not be wearing trousers that hang down like you've taken a dump in your pants. Get a pair of trousers that fit your narrow-ass bum. Some dude standing across the street ringing a doorbell, and his pants are hanging down like he just dropped a load like a toddler in his nappies. That's a very unattractive. Meanwhile, two ladies walk by with leggings on, and they're so tight I can see the crack. People and their outfits. Anyway, so the British propaganda outlet known as British Broadcasting Corporation ran a story today saying it's Xi Jinping who holds all the cards over Trump because he has a meeting with North Korea's dictator and Russia's dictator. I'm not really sure how that gives him all the cards. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un attended a military parade in the center of Beijing alongside Russian President Vladimir Putin and China's leader Xi Jinping. It's quite the photo op. Quite a diplomatic win for Xi. Chinese leaders have been trying hard to project Beijing's power on the international stage, not just as the world's second largest economy, but also as a diplomatic heavyweight. So you think you're a diplomatic heavyweight because you have North Korean dictatorship and a Russian dictatorship coming to your military parade? That's just a bunch of dictators, man. It's a little dictators club. I don't really think that's impressive. Trump just held a meeting in the Oval Office, and all the heads of European countries sat in an oval taking directions from their overlord, Donald Trump. That picture's worth 1,000 words, man. There's Ursula von der Leyen, there's Olaf Scholz, all of them. They're all sitting there in a little half circle as Trump lectures them about how things are going to be with Ukraine and Russia. It was pretty funny. Pretty darn funny. There's another young lady out here jogging. I don't know why people must like this route. Okay, that one might be a cop. She was attractive. Not that cops are attractive, but they're trying to trick people into get them in trouble. Anyway, so in the U.S., the border czar Tom Homan says they're going to ramp up operations in blue cities. Border czar Tom Homan said that there will be a ramp up of immigration and customs enforcement operations in Chicago after Labor Day, as well as other Democratic-led cities. You're going to see a ramp up of operations continue in New York, operations continue in Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle, all these sanctuary cities. I guess that was the end of her route. She just turned around and went back the other way. Or she really is a cop trying to get us all. I think it's funny because, you don't have to sit and watch women jog to Uber women. You can just sit and watch women pass by. They don't have to be jogging. The cops really need to find something better to do than what they're doing. So you're going to see a ramp up operations continue in New York, LA, Portland, Seattle. All these sanctuary cities refuse to work with ICE, where we know public safety threats are being released every day into this country. He confirmed that there are discussions taking place about ICE using a naval base north of Chicago as an operations center. He also pushed back against Mayor Bowser's comments that the masked federation of the nation's capital has not been working. D.C. Mayor said these tactics create a break in trust between officers and residents. Holman hit back saying they're extremely effective. President Trump's going to make D.C. the model city of the world. I don't know about making D.C. the model city of the world. I mean, D.C. is full of people with less than ideal cultural norms. So you're not going to be able to change those people's behavior. You can certainly change the criminal behavior, but you can't change the sloth, the laziness, the filth, the bad behavior that a lot of people in that town have. You can't, oh my goodness, that's way too many freaking piercings. One nose piercing is something, but 35 of them? What exactly trying to do? I think some people are quite bold wearing leggings when they shouldn't be wearing leggings, if you know what I mean. That's a bold fashion choice. Nice bleach blonde hair, though. Anyway, so that's what's going on with that situation. Apparently, the CDC is in crisis. Did you guys know that? Let me get back to the chat here real quick. Had a video interview. Okay, I already got that. Okay. Do you know it's after 2 in-person is how long is the wait approximately? Again, G9, people showing up after the fact. There is no set time for a wait. It doesn't exist, guys. You need to get past that. There's such thing. They'll tell you, and then that's what you have. FitNut Innovations has 8 piercings. Ouch. I bet you set metal detectors off. Observation Locals is funny. Hey, Hendo. Tom Homan, yes. Hey, Sandy. Why did Chris Ayler's text get deleted? Can't wait to get to America so I can start doing my bike for America. You bike for America? Any thoughts on the Minneapolis shooting? Yeah, another transgender is lit up another bunch of innocent people. When are we going to, I don't know if I'm allowed to say such things on YouTube. I mean, the American Medical Association defined that condition as mental illness until very recently. And then the woke crowd got the AMA to change the designation. American Psychiatric Association changed it too, to say that it wasn't a mental illness. So if it's not a mental illness, then why are so many people who profess to be that shooting up schools and churches and buildings? What's going on? Every one of these mass shootings, it seems, is being perpetrated by somebody who claims to be that. So I don't know what to tell you, other than, it's crazy. That person was born male genitalia, and lived as a woman and had challenges, and then took it out on innocent kids. Sick world. But my bigger question is this: how does anybody not have security at a church or at a school? Why there aren't armed response officers at these places is beyond me. When I was in France, in Bordeaux, the hotel I was in, they had security across the street for the Jewish synagogue, and they were real asses. I went outside, and there was a big concrete thing, and it was hotter than blaze. It was like 90 plus degrees, 90 some humidity. I was dripping wet. There's no air con in my freaking apartment. So I'm over there, and I sit down on this stone, and the guy chases me, very rude, disrespectful to me. Chased me, and I was speaking French. But he didn't bother to tell me that he was security. Later, I realized what's going on. But then he let his friends hang out there. His Jewish friends got to hang out there, but I couldn't hang out there. I posed no threat to anybody. Oh my goodness, this is loud. I posed no threat to anybody, but he acted as if I did. But at least they had security outside the synagogue. In this day and age, churches and gatherings should have security, armed security. You know, the FBI is covering up the data, but apparently 48% of what would have been mass shootings have been stopped by armed citizens who've stopped people from committing mass shootings. 48% of what would have been mass shootings. What is this, the program? What? Sorry, the chat here. I mean, folks, hang on a second here. You're welcome, Francois. No, I don't think South Africans will become those patriotic citizens, Jean-Ric. You could be finding it very challenging to be more patriotic than me. I've sacrificed much of my life, my health, my physical well-being, my relationships, my chance of success to defend the nation. Very patriotic. You're going to be hard-pressed to surpass me. Torty says, I'm pretending to talk to you guys. There's usually shows a spot to look at the ladies. Well, I try to find a spot where I wouldn't disturb other people. There's the backside with a couch and a bunch of tables, but it was rather intimate, and if I had this conversation, I'd be really disturbing other people. Plus, in the back room there were a couple of ladies doing some work and having a conversation, coordinating some meeting. So here's some dude wearing a mask running down the street. You know, I really don't get that. That doesn't make any sense. He's wearing a ladies' nursing shirt, so I'm not even going to ask. Not even going to ask. Atlanta hate speech conviction needs to be on Fox News. Yes, it does prove Trump correct. It refutes the lies, misinformation left. It does. Marco is working 4 jobs at one time. Who? Marco Rubio? Joggers were correct. 600,000 Chinese student visa, okay. What are you talking about? Is this some breaking story? I haven't seen it. Stop looking, they're going to get arrested. Here in South Africa, lots of young boys wear their pants like fun. Yep. Can't wait to get to America and start. Okay, that's one I saw already. Okay, what is your thoughts on the Apple shooting? Well, my thoughts is it's sad, but of course this is the state that just became a trans haven. A little tampon Timmy just celebrated this, and all the stuff they, these are the people. There's a town in Michigan that's been taken over by Muslims. And the white leftist liberals voted the Muslims into power, even though they're not a majority there. And they control all the seats in the councils. So they've just banned LGBTQ Pride Day and flags. And the leftists are like, what, you morons. That's like the, gays for Gaza. Go ahead, guys. Would you like a flight to Gaza as a homosexual? Yeah, maybe we should send you to Damascus and see what happens to homosexuals there. They drop you off a roof. Not a very popular thing in that part of the world. These people are stupid. They don't understand the real world. Leo loves the commentary joggers. Here's a dad and his daughter. She's ginger-haired, riding a little bicycle. It's pretty cool. She's got a helmet on. That's good. And dad's with her. That's pretty cool. And she's riding it. That's pretty cool to see. The program's moving. Been professional since day one. Been just over a month since first contact. Wish us luck. Our first person interview is in Pretoria tomorrow. There you go. The real great collie. Okay. Wildebeest is a clothing brand. Yes, it is. That's why I'm wearing it. It'll come out Sunday too. Not too. Men wearing the pants, a little plumber's cracker shirt. Yeah, I was at a rugby game in York, and the dude in front of me, when they kicked the ball, the fly half kicked the ball over, and it came. I was in the corner. I was about to catch it, and the guy 2 rows in front of me jumped up and knocked the ball down. He didn't catch it. If he caught it, I wouldn't have a problem, but he just knocked it out of my reach. Knocked it sideways. It wasn't like it came back. I had to adjust. It went sideways. So I wound up walking down the stairs, picking up and tossing back into the park. But the dude had serious butt crack, plumber's crack, and the lady behind him was like, people in the row across from me were like, I mean, it was like serious plumber's crack, man. It was like halfway down his bum. It was. Is that a Tesla? That is a Tesla. Boy, they love their Teslas here. Lots of rich people over here. Yeah, I like going to Vegas because I like to watch people gamble. It's funny. People can be very entertaining when they gamble. Just saying. Learn to wear my shirt long. Okay. When did you send your statement of interest? Well, I didn't send the statement of interest. I'm an American. I don't need refugee status. I have the golden ticket. Bird watching. So much wisdom. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, Chris, you don't need to go all caps. You've already offered me an interview on the trans thing. I'm considering it. CDC in crisis, I think, because Fauci gave billions away. Yeah, well, they're in crisis because they're corrupt. Timmy Waltz is the governor of Minnesota. Yep. Yeah, they blame guns and not the mental health. Exactly right. That's the problem. That is the problem. Yeah, the kids are praying when that happened. Yep. So you'll get some leftist psychos that will say make some comment about faith and about prayer. What does it say? Business Tech report at Ford's assembly plant in Pretoria is cutting 470 jobs. Doesn't surprise me. Defense Web states that joint Russian military exercise next month in Cape Town. Well, that's going to be a foolish decision, and that'll just be more ammunition for the Trump administration if South Africa is dumb enough to do that. Am I in Essex? I'm not in Essex. I'm in the Midlands. A lot of my games are up this area. I had Sunderland, which is north of the Midlands, then Northampton, which is the southern edge of the Midlands, and then York was in between. So I'm up this way. What's frickin' McAfee keeps popping up on my screen? Yeah, so I'm up this way. What if all the ladies running past saw the attractive white beard? I don't think anybody saw me. I don't think anybody saw me. Yeah. Good evening, Peter Pumpkin Eater. You're welcome. Yeah, it isn't pride. It's just shameful. Those dudes running around with masks are the lots involved in crime and seeing a lot of... No, that guy is actually a nurse. I don't know what his deal was. He's just running his car. Probably wearing a mask and forgot to take it off. Yeah, a lot of Teslas in the UK, Henry. You're right. I don't really want a Tesla. No thanks. A hybrid, maybe. One that uses internal combustion and electric. That'd be okay, but not a strictly electric car, no. Mountains, Union striking. Okay, Liz Pernival gave 35 rand. Thank you for all your care and concern. You're very welcome, Liz. My pleasure. Colonel, can you be ambassador? Well, I put my name in the hat, but I wasn't picked because I'm not rich and I'm not connected. Instead, that went to Brent Bozell, who is rich and who is connected and who has a media firm, which is something that the Trump administration loves. So yeah, no, it wasn't considered for that. It wasn't considered. 2 calls from Americans. He said, asking passport numbers, no follow-up, very different experience. Is it possible the Americans are helping the Kenyans? No, the Kenyans are helping the Americans. We don't like the Americans help the Kenyans. This is an American program. Dude banged his bicycle into a metal rack behind me inside the store. No, it's not possible. The Kenyans are simply doing what the Americans asked them to do. They're paying them for it. So it's not the other way around. Again, I covered all this. Earlier in the program, I've covered it in videos. People aren't listening. Pablo Charlie. Pablo Charlie says, Trump wants government to own percentages of companies. Well, thank you, Pro-Vic Boy. I think I'd make a fantastic ambassador. Yes, that's right. 1 electromagnetic pulse and all Teslas are done for it. Well, if your internal combustion engine's running too, it's also done for it because it'll fry the spark plugs and it'll fry the alternator, so you won't be able to generate electricity in that car. If your car is off, however, you'll be okay. The only thing bad is your battery. So if you've got a standard transmission, you can roll it down the hill and jumpstart it. Cars in South Africa don't need a trailer with petrol generator to charge the car. Probably true. Man, people make a lot of freaking noise in here. Good Lord. So the British media is freaking out. Daily Mail says that Putin targeted the Brits. He said Russian President Vladimir Putin was hours away from killing UK workers with his double-tap rocket strike on a British council building and European headquarters in Kiev. The 2 buildings were struck overnight as Russia unleashed a barrage of drones and hypersonic missiles in the Ukrainian capital, leaving at least 18 dead. Footage shows a missile slamming into the structure and a fireball explosion at 5:40 in the morning before a second followed 20 seconds later, leaving it severely damaged. I think if Putin wanted to kill the British diplomats or the British citizens who were there, he would have done it at 8:30, not at 5:30. So, let's, the British Council got hit. Looks pretty bad. Although, not as bad as it could be. The place didn't burn down. Yeah, Putin looks kind of evil. He looks kind of retarded when you look at him in this photograph I'm looking at. Anyway. So, International Court of Justice Judge Subuntinde faces calls to quit the case. International Commission of Jurists has filed a formal request for an investigation into the International Court of Justice Vice President Julia Subuntinde over recent comments about Israel. The commission, which advocates for human rights and rule of law, argued that her position in Israel reveals a bias that brings judicial integrity into question. One of 17 judges in the ICJ case against Israel. She's a 71-year-old Ugandan who's currently serving her second term. According to Institute for African Women in Law, she was raised by a family modest means Uganda's independence movement. So what's the deal here? In the case filed in December 2023, South Africa alleged Israel's committing genocide. So 15 of the 17 judges voted for all the emergency measures put in place. An Israeli judge voted for 2 of the 6 measures. She was the only judge to vote against all measures. Oh, that's why they want to get rid of her, because she voted against all the measures. So these are people that hate Jews. Now I see what's going on. Flooding likely as heavy showers prompt warning. That's in Essex. It's always asked about Essex. Is that why you're asking? Actually, it's not Essex. It's Devon and Cornwall. Flooding is going to hit parts of Devon and Cornwall. Heavy rain set to fall over the region. So the Metropolitan Meteorological Office issued a weather warning for parts of counties along the South Coast, South Wales, and Southeast England from 10 p.m. British Standard Time tonight until noon tomorrow. So apparently going to be a lot of rain down that way. Here it's overcast again. Sunny over there, cloudy over here. It's UK. It's the UK. So the European Union and the United Kingdom have summoned top Russian diplomats after the strikes hit the British Council and EU offices. So they've demanded they show up. Yeah, how are we doing over here? My battery is at... come on, what are you doing here? Battery's dying quickly here. 29%, okay. So UK summons Russian ambassador after overnight attacks on Kiev. UK Foreign Minister David Lammy has now confirmed that the British government has summoned the Russian ambassador to the United Kingdom's Foreign Office over this. So there you go. The Brits and the European Union not too impressed by this. I understand what to say. Legion gave a 50 Rand super chat. Thank you for that. I'm a pre-2000 guy when it comes to cars. I got you. Dylan, take care. 2 months to still haven't received my pension payout from government. Yeah, Fabian, I get it. In 2 months you haven't got paid. That's a lot more important. Well, not more important, but certainly as important as hearing about a statement of interest and people freaking out about not hearing back on a statement of interest after 2 weeks, and you've been waiting 2 months to get your pension. That's pretty scary. But I think they're stealing pensions. I don't want to frighten you, but that's my concern. Yeah, the expat families, they're definitely making lots of noise. They clean the tables. At least they clean up. I mean, some of these places, they leave trash all over the place all day long. It costs us at Starbucks. These people here are working diligently trying to keep the place clean, so I've got to appreciate that. Oh, it sounds like your neighbors from upstairs, noisy bunch. Christopher Fanard, you are correct. That's a statement of fact. I saw that as well. In fact, I'm going to make a video on that to warn podcasters. My recommendation is they go after Mama Joy. She's an influencer. She's a social media influencer, and she's been living high off the hog on the taxpayer. They've been going after, getting free rides to Rugby World Cups, or flights, or hotels being paid for. Why don't they go after her? That's in-kind income. Leon is going to send me an email, something that might interest me. All right, thank you, Leon. By the way, folks, congratulations to me. My email account, which Verizon bought from Yahoo a few years ago, they're trying to find a way to make money. And now they figured the way to make money is to limit the size of your inbox. Well, I've had that mailbox for 30 years, and I didn't realize how much mail I had on it. But I had 419,000 unread email messages when I started this journey about a month ago, and at the beginning of August. And I've deleted not all the unread messages, but most of them are gone. I'm under 1,000 unread messages, so 418,000 plus the ones coming since then. In addition, I've probably deleted another 200,000 or 300,000 emails, possibly, and attachments, and download the attachments for, readings for postgraduate education, when I taught at university, when I taught at the War College, presentations as an Army officer, all this stuff, photographs. So I've been quite busy. And yesterday, day before, I got below 20 gigabytes, which is the threshold. And today I took it down to 18.5. So that gives me a little breathing room. Because once you get 20 gigabytes, it cuts your mail off, and I can't afford for my mail to be cut off. So I've been deleting things left and right. So yeah, a lot of work to get there, but I'm getting there. Yeah, it does sound like a bowling alley, doesn't it? Thank you for the super chats. Age limit for statement of interest. It's not a silly question. Yeah, you have to be 18 years of age, you have to be an adult. If you're over 18, you must put a statement of interest in. If you're under 18, your parent and guardian can do so. If you're over 18, you have to put one in. Talking about pension funds, I'm worried when the government will get their filthy hands on citizens. Yeah, well, it's coming. It's coming. That's why I went to Ireland. I withdrew my pensions so these efforts can't carry. Well, Arthur, I hope you're fine in Ireland. A lot of South Africans apparently being booted out who are seeking asylum there. The Irish are letting everybody except people who look like Irish come in the country, and they hate the Irish themselves. That is an evil government in Ireland. A truly evil government. Anyway, where are we at here? They're stealing pensions. They're funding corrupt businesses. Yeah, I think they are, Fabian. I think you're right. Martin says, I'll never go after Mama Joy. I think you're right about that, but she's the perfect test case for who they should be going after. Mama Joy is definitely a person who is been getting payment in kind and hasn't been paying any taxes. She's been freeloading for a long time on the taxpayer. And this guy looks like Mark Oppenheimer walking by. It's clearly not Mark. He's got the same gait, same long hair, dressed the same way. Boy, Mark, your body doubles here, except you didn't have a beard. Martin Fundamentalist. Jan Blocky says, thank you once again for doing so much help refugees and those who want to go. If we weren't so old, I would have applied. Well, again, folks, you're welcome, but it's not my purpose. It's not all that I do. You know, it's I cover the news and I do analysis and I try to help people. Like the situation. Let me see if I get a response back from those guys. What happened with their kids? Okay. All right. So, apparently, Carlos, are you still there? Carlos, your recommendation worked. The lawyer that I put him in touch with is the one who's representing them. So, I won't share any more than that. So, thank you for that. Okay. Oh my goodness. What's that? Hang on a second here. I got something for someone else here. All right. So, so I just heard from another South African whose partner just got a call from the embassy today for an interview. So, guys, this stuff is happening here. Okay. Cool. Anyway. Right. Okay, yeah. So Ernst Francel wrote to me, so a lot of misleading information in the comments. Unfortunately, some help out on twisting there. Let's go take a look at those comments before I lose my laptop's juice here. So there's no mains to plug in this spot. Like I said, I had it in a spot where I didn't disturb others. So let me go to the video, the interview I did with Ernst Francel, and see what the comments are. It's probably a disinformation campaign. Let's see what some of those comments are. Okay, what else? No, I don't see any bad comments here, so I'm not sure what the conscious character was talking about. Anyway, yeah, so where are we at here? Talking about pension funds. Whoa, it jumped on me there. Don't know if you answered this, but each of us in the family got a screening call for embassy directly and not from the Kenyan staff. It's possible. As I said, relaxing positive energy. The U.S. government upped the number of people that went over to work in Pretoria. So I don't know how many people. I did know a number at one time, but maybe they brought more people over, which would explain why more people are getting phone calls. Again, the Kenyans are doing screening. So, what does it matter, folks? What does it matter? If you get screened by a Kenyan, you get screened by an American, you get interviewed by an American, decisions made by an American, and whoever books your flight, you come to America, like the people who arrived today in Texas. You know, it doesn't really matter. But thanks for the heads up on that. Appreciate that. Should interview with Professor Gregory Stanton for Genocide Watch. Okay, Will. Okay. Carlos, glad to be assistance. Thanks, Carlos. Yeah, the whole thing is kind of suspicious. I think he's being targeted, and the comment I got back from him, it sure seems like they're being targeted. So, what about your family, Colonel? Well, my family's here watching the program right now. 555 of you. I have a global family. Yeah, I thought the interview with Aaron Spencer went very well. You get all these people always whining about me. Well, you talk too much, because when I do the Indaba conversation with Chris, it's a conversation. It's interactive. It's not a question and answer session. So I share my views and they share their views. But this was different. I treated this as an interview and allowed him to do most of the talking. If you edited the video with me, you would have seen that 70% of the time it was Aaron's talking, which is fine. Carney says parents are disabled. I understand. Missed call today. The line died just after greeting. Cycling Journeys. I'm sorry to hear that. Why did Cycling Journeys message get deleted? Who is going overboard as a moderator? Knock it off. They were deleting Chris Ayler's earlier. Now they're deleting Cycling Journeys. I don't see any reason to delete these people. Louise, the Amerikaners claim that they're screening refugees as well. It's not processing, it's screening. Guys, you need to use the correct term. Screening. They're screening. That's all it is. They're not processing. They're not interviewing. They're not deciding. That's all done by Americans. They are simply screening to winnow down the fake ones and pass the real ones on. And also, you know, when you don't have time to sit there and go through a file and answer all these questions, it's time wasted. So they hire other people to do that. You get the file, it tells you the situation, you set up the interview, you do the interview, and you know where to go. It saves a lot of time. Guy across the street's wearing a German soccer jersey, black and red one. And he's a little pudgy for that. Anyway, I don't think he's German. I have one of those jerseys, that's why I recognize it. Okay. I think clarify a lot of misinformation. What would, Will? Surrey leave for America. I can't wait for that call. Amazing privilege and life-saving for us. Thank you. You're welcome, Pretender. This was sent twice just to lead one of them. Okay, gotcha, Arctic. Thank you. Thank you. All right, well, then that explains it. Pull back. Well done. This plan with U.S. intervention was totally unexpected. Yeah, no, I don't think that the ANC banked on Trump becoming the president again, and certainly didn't bank on Trump standing his ground about this whole situation. They sure didn't think Trump was going to stand his ground. That's for darn sure. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, Trump has not been very active in this. He could have done a lot more. He could say a lot more. He could still do a lot more. I think he's just being distracted by many other things. Tariffs, Iran, Israel, Gaza, Ukraine, EU, Democrats. There's a lot of stuff on his plate. That was all caps. Okay. Finish up fishing for morning. You're fishing for morning. Andre K., where are you at this morning? You're either down under or on the west coast of the United States. It's not morning anywhere else. Gemini, how's it going? Where is the damn Starbucks? In England. Homeland Security will watch your vids. What does Homeland Security have to do with anything, Chippy? So I've been told by several people interviewed that the RSC, the Kenyans, know who I am, and they're grateful because I've been explaining a lot of stuff they don't have to really explain. I also know, of course, U.S. officials know about my videos and who I am. Yeah, and I've heard similar comments. This is feedback from refugee aspirants as well as U.S. government officials. That's right, Eli. You hit the nail on the head. The ANC thought it was going to be business as usual. Because in the first 4 years, despite people trying to be revisionist historians, Trump didn't do anything for South Africa. He didn't do anything for the Afrikaners. Tucker Carlson had Ernst Rhodes on, and Donald Trump did one tweet about farm murders, and that was it. That's it. Nothing happened. My audience said, so is he going to save us? I said, no, Trump isn't saving you. It's not on his agenda. He's just responding to something that was on Tucker Carlson. And that was it. And that was the end of that. Nothing more came of it. And people now trying to revise history and claim that Trump was a defender of Afrikaners in his first term. That's total, there's another Tesla. That's total nonsense. That's nothing against Trump. It's just a statement of fact. That wasn't his cup of tea. He wasn't doing that back then. So people can believe all they want, but that was never the case. Never the case. Never the case. This term has been a little bit different. So, yeah, it's been a little bit different this term. Certainly, he's put a focus on this that wasn't there before, which is good for South Africa that somebody's paying attention. So, anyway. Deborah called you a dumb blonde. Who's Deborah? They're folding up the tables and the place closes at 7:30. It's only 6 o'clock. I wonder what's going on. Hang on a second here. Hello. All right. See you. All right, thanks. Telemarketers, sorry. Telemarketers. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry, taking care of something there very quickly. All right, they're so annoying here in South Africa. Oh, she's the one that says I represent the CIA. Laughing releases serotonin. Yes, it does, Kristen. That's good. Unfortunately, we can't bend the rules. See, AfriForum is sending another party to engage for U.S. government. Yeah, Chris Aylers, you know better than all caps, man. Just put lowercase. Restitution. What about restitution for the murdered Trek boys who were murdered by rampaging tribes of Ndebele and Zulu? That's in here now. Yep. Oh, that's who that Deborah is. Yep. Oh, that lady's she's not far from the loony farm. Oh, there's some dudes jogging, 3 of them. Surprised how many people are out here jogging. Ruben had 4 or something today. They're annoying. Oh, 4 telemarketing calls. Yeah, a call from me. You know, it was a Nigerian prince. He was offering me a house in Abuja. Yeah, Alberta is a conservative province, and they've had enough of Canada. That's for darn sure. Taxation definitely pushes prices up for goods. Well, look at the tax on petrol. The amount of tax on petrol has gone up and up and up and up, even when the price doesn't go up. In South Africa, it's crazy. Your dog is sulking. Oh, I'm sorry to hear your dog is sulking there, Alan. That's a shame. Joy Everman, after I reported her video with the reason she called President Trump a terrorist and American and Jewish people terrorists. Thanks. Do you ever check if there's refugees in your long wall? Yeah, I do. I've got cameras. Nobody's there. Nobody's there. I can imagine. I watched 1 or 2 of her videos, but I have to admit she scares the living daylights out of me. 2 slices short of a ham sandwich. Well, she's getting the views. I mean, I didn't watch it. Portsmouth. No, I haven't. Yes, USA minion to be. It was mentioned earlier about the retrenchment. What do I read about more refugees landing? Are you talking about the title of my video? You've rocked up 1 hour and 20 minutes into the broadcast, and you're demanding an answer to something that was covered for the last hour. Yes, more refugees from South Africa arrived in the United States today. I know of some who arrived in Texas. I was aware of their arrival for some time. They departed on the 27th of August and arrived on today on the 28th. They've arrived safely in the United States. Yep. There's something wrong with it. Watched her too. For what he's going through the past 5 years. I don't know anything about that story. About the state of Frankfurt, so many drugs. You mean the condition of Frankfurt City? Joey from Vikes gave 10 Rand 49. Thank you for that, Joey. I appreciate that. Chris is clearly MI5, not CIA. That's right, Neil. That's right. I'm MI5. I'm in the UK. Not MI6, MI5. Spooks. Anyway, but yeah, so let's see. This weekend I've got USA and Australia and South Africa, and I forget who they're playing. Let me take a look at my ticket. Let's see. So, for the rugby this weekend, let's see, I've got York on Saturday, USA versus Australia, and then I've got on Sunday, Italy versus South Africa. Yep, cool beans. Cool beans. I may be able to do the Bulls game on Saturday from my hotel. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it, my hotel in New York, and see if I can't make it happen and do the broadcast. I'll do it over the phone and watch it on here with a VPN. We'll see how it goes. That's the plan for Saturday. By the way, folks, if anybody's curious, they have a single program for the entire World Cup, whereas the men have one for every game. Here's the Women's Rugby World Cup program for this year. So, all the different teams. So I picked that up the first night, and it's been the same ever since. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense to print a bunch of them out because they won't sell that many of them. Good evening, Anna Kruger. Just listened to Dante, the guy that spoke about his life and witness. Oh, okay, that's who the Dante is. Okay, it was in the court case. Where was that at? Who got that coup? That's a coup. I'd love to interview that guy. Where did you see that at? Yeah, it's a nice program. I agree. Anyway. What do you think all the tender taps closed down the correctional service? Yeah, they're not happy about that. They're not happy about that. They're going to want Peter Herneveld to disappear because of that. Guarantee it. I guarantee that's what's coming. So, folks, let me just take a look. I want to thank people for content viewing. Let's see where we're at here. Content. Somehow I lost that. I must have closed that tab. So, my video yesterday announcing that Milena was guilty is done okay. It's done better than any video in a while, but it's done okay. It has 80,000 views now, I think it is. Or yeah, there are 80,000, almost 81,000, they say. Really slowed down today, but yesterday it hit 70,000 pretty quickly. Today, it's at 81,800, so almost 82,000. So 12,000 today. And then the other one I did yesterday that was kind of a surprise performer was the one about the lawsuit with Canal. I'm surprised at how well that one's done in the end. That one is at 46,000 almost. Pretty good. It's done pretty well today. It's picking up at about 500, 600 per hour, sometimes a little bit more, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's awesome. And the other ones, the Raleigh Lamola is around 25,000. The Milena interview with Nats Fun Sale at about 10,000. And then what's happening with the refugee program, that one I aired a while ago. That one, let's see, it's 3,000. Let's see if that's accurate. It's at 6,900. So, okay, but not great. But thank you all for that. Appreciate it. And we are on the channel at 111,707. We've gained some subscribers since I went live. Cool beans. All right, slow and slog though. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. And thank you all so much for being here. Tomorrow is Friday. I will probably have a rugby game tomorrow. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. All right. Okay. We've got a game tomorrow. If I can do it, I'll do it. Ooh, it looks like it just started raining down the street. Oh, it is raining. It's not raining here. It's raining down the street. I can see the rain falling about 300 meters away. Wow. All right, guys. Catch you later. Thanks for being here. Be sure to hit the like button before you go. Thanks, everybody. Be safe.